Calling all my friends to give me a clue.
My lifestyle is changing.
Calling all my friends to help me through.
I'm exhausted. I'm tired.
Calling all my friends to laugh and laugh.
I love you, Mommy.
Calling all my friends to give me advice.
They're all you need.
Mom time is my time. Mom time is the right time, and I need it now.
Welcome to Mom Time, a way for real moms to connect, share, and have some fun. You'll love Gail, working mom and sports mom of 3. You won't forget Eva, mom of 3, as she shares her life and stories. And with special guest Claudia, mom of 2, she has a different look at things. Meet Sharon with 5 kids, ages 8 to 17. She's running for all she's worth. With 3 boys and finally a girl on the way, Tressa never gives up. And with special guest Cynthia, mom of 2, and our financial advisor, listen up. Let's join them now.
You know, it's so much fun getting into debt, but it's not a lot of fun getting out of it. We've brought Cynthia on to not only help us, but just help everybody out there try and get rid of the debt so that we can have more financial freedom in our lives.
Right, that's great. And one of the first questions we talked about was, when is debt bad? And debt is, you know, sometimes useful when you're looking to buy a house or something that's going to appreciate in value. But when you're just all of a sudden relying on it to help, you know, those extra expenses, maybe things you don't even really need, then all of a sudden debt becomes a bad thing or becomes excessive. You start relying on it to make your monthly payments, things like that. So that's the kind of bad debt. Now, when is debt good? Again, if you're going to go buy a house, mortgage debt is not a bad debt to have. You can write off the interest. The rates are relatively low. But to get into high credit card debt, that's when it becomes overwhelming. And I think that's what a lot of people out there are kind of experiencing right now.
So when it does become to that point, then what do you suggest?
Well, the first thing I always kind of go back to this is to look at how much you have coming in every month and then how much you have going out. And if you're creating a lot of credit card debt and not really buying any huge items, then you know what? You're probably spending more than you have coming in. And you need to go through your budget and figure out, where is the fluff? Where's the extra that I don't need to be spending right now? Okay, so go through your budget first, look at that, see if there's any fluff. If there isn't, then you might need to start figuring out some great new ways to make extra income. Or in some way try to reduce what you have. Okay, so that's the first step to figuring that out. If you are doing big purchases on credit cards and all of a sudden you've accumulated an extra bit here, you really need to look at every purchase you make, especially those big ones. I mean, we all love to have that huge big screen TV in time for the Super Bowl party, or
Well, you know, they market to that too. I mean,
they do.
If you didn't watch all those commercials saying you have to have it so you can watch the player run.
That's when they deliver it on sale too.
Right.
That's when the
You
big
can have it
sales are.
tomorrow.
Yeah, in time for the big game.
And you don't have to make payments for 2 years.
Yeah.
And it's so tempting to do that and make you feel like, but you really have to think, do I really need that new big screen TV? And I'm not just picking on big screen TVs. I mean, I was kind of looking at and going, oh, I love those, you know, the washer machine dryer that you can put in from the front. I just loved them. I'm thinking, well, do I really need it? But I did. I needed it. I really did need it. I really needed it because I had 17-year-old washing machine. So, but those really ask yourself first, do I really need that thing right now? Especially if you're, you know, accumulating the credit card debt.
But here's the thing. Don't you, when you're out shopping, when you find something, you really need it.
You can always justify
right
it.
then, you know. I suppose if you go home and you think about it.
You know, first of all, decide if you really need it. Then spend the time, do the homework, shop around online. It's amazing what you can do online right now. With, you know, a car, with TVs, you can just punch in the thing you're looking for and you get all this list of everything out there and have all these different prices. It's amazing how much money you can save. So do your homework. And sometimes I think for me what works out best is if I make it kind of a game with myself. I can go through a period of time, well, I'm going to go through this store and look and get, options and write everything down, and then I'm going to come back and make a decision later.
It takes a lot of time to save the money.
It does. Yeah.
You can make it fun,
Well, and if you're a procrastinator too, I think that is a bad thing with regard to money, because then it's like, okay, I need it now, and I'll pay whatever it costs.
Then you
I
don't.
can't
Yeah,
wait
then
till
you're
it's
not
on
shopping.
sale.
Well, Cynthia,
Yeah.
what happens to some of us that we're already in debt? For example, I have a few credit cards that we accumulated with things that we needed. But what has happened is, sometimes you forget one payment here or there, and what the companies are doing now, they increase your interest.
They do.
And we found out that we're paying 22% on one of them, and then the other one is like 21.5. So my question to you today is, we are considering like taking maybe some money out of the life insurance, borrowing it to pay the credit card so that we're not paying so much interest. Would that be a good idea?
Well, everybody has a different situation. I'd have to look at yours specifically. But what I would say, I'd come up with a strategy first on the credit card debt. Okay, do that first. And then if it really makes a big difference, maybe tap into some of your savings or your investments. But I'd say a lot of times that isn't the best idea, taking a loan against your 401k or your life insurance or things like that.
Yeah, okay.
So first, let's come up with a strategy for the debt.
We'll be right back. Mom Time TV continues.
A lot of credit card companies do the teaser rates. Oh, 0% for 6 months. Well, what happens after 6 months? And what happens if you miss one of those payments? Just, by a day, it's not late. It's not late that you're being dinged on your credit report, but it's a day late. And so all of a sudden, oh, sorry, you started out at 0%. Well, you're going to 21, like you're saying. So, or no payments for 2 years. And so you buy this furniture and it's lovely and you're enjoying it. But all of a sudden, that 2 years comes up, and you're, you got to pay that large thing.
Well, in 2 years in our house, the furniture would look like a wreck. A bunch of kids, all their friends.
Oh, now I got to pay for this stuff.
I don't like it anymore.
I don't like it.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah, and I would only say only do those 2-year things if you divide, say you owe $2,000, divide it over 24 months and make that payment every month. You're not paying the interest, and that is the way you can win doing that. That's the only way I would do it. Otherwise, all of a sudden, boom, you're up, to 25% or whatever, and you're stuck.
Well, they send you a minimum, and if you put the calculator to work and you put the 22 months or 24 months that you're gonna take to pay it, the minimum would not do it. They they don't send you exactly
Really
the amount.
looked what it would take for you to pay that off. Yeah. If you can divide that amount you're borrowing to buy that furniture with no interest, and you can divide it by the 2 years or whatever they've given you to pay off, and have it done so that your last payment on that thing is done by the time that
beforehand.
Yes. Then and set it up on automatic payment. Have it coming out of your checking account so that you don't have to write the check every month. That's where you could keep yourself in line. So, what is the strategy if you've accumulated the debt, and a lot of us have because of what's been going on in the economy and stuff?
Well, and now it's so much worse because of what's going on in the economy.
Right.
You're hanging in there, hanging in there,
Right.
hanging in there.
Yep.
And people who are hanging in there aren't hanging in there anymore.
Right. Yeah, and for a while here, we felt like our homes were, ATM machines. We could just, I'll put that on my home equity line of credit. Well, now all of a sudden our houses have gone down in value, so we just don't have that. We kind of got used to being able to buy whatever we wanted, and so this has been a real interesting time, and it's not a bad thing either. It kind of gets us more in line with what's going on. So here's an idea, and we can talk this through, and tell me if you understand it as I'm going through it, of how you can begin a strategy for really reducing your debt without having to tap into your savings or your investments, okay? The first thing is to list out every credit card, every debt that you have, okay? List it out, look at what your balance is, what your minimum payments are, and what your interest rates are, okay? And then go through and prioritize them. Which is the lowest amount that I can pay off first? Maybe you have one that's $500, one that's $1,500, one that's $3,000. The $500 one could be paid off first, so that's number one. Okay, number 2, number 3, however many there are.
Regardless of the interest rate?
Yeah, based on the dollar amount.
Just
or
based on the balance, whatever the balance is. Go through your budget, like I said, find out if there's any fluff. Maybe you find you're spending like an extra $100 or something like that every month, and you can put that towards your debt. Think of it again as something that you're helping your financial future. Okay.
So even if it's a small amount, it's
Yes.
worth saving.
It is. It can make a big difference.
Because you think
So-
$20 here, $20 there, you know, and
Right.
that's the way it goes. you know.
Exactly. But yes, small amounts can add up, and all of a sudden you're putting an extra $100, $200 towards your first credit card that we've talked about. Okay? So you're making your regular payment on that first credit card. You add any extra you came up with. Let's say it's $100. So you had a $100 minimum on that first credit card. Now you're adding another $100. Well, all of a sudden, boom, you've paid that first credit card off in 2-3 months. Okay. Now take all that money, the 100 you had, the 100 you were normally paying on the first one. That's $200 extra dollars.
And put it
Towards
with the minimum
the second
on the next
credit
one.
card, and slowly, boom, boom, boom. You know, otherwise, if you don't do that, when you pay off that first credit card, guess what happens? You just absorb it. Somehow you're spending that extra $200, and you don't even know what you did with it.
Exactly.
So this is just a really good strategy. All of a sudden, you can, you can really pay some things off in 2-3 years, depending on how much you have, instead of just making that minimum payment and still having that credit card around 10 years later. I mean, that can happen. So I think this is a really good strategy. And, do you need to pay off your home equity line of credit? It's tax deductible. Interest rates are really low right now. I think that would be, no matter what the balance on that one, I'd maybe put that one towards the bottom. It's not
Well, it seems
a
to
bad
me,
debt necessarily.
logically, that you always hear people say, go for the highest interest rate card. But that may be, you may have a higher amount on that card. And I would think if you're paying off the lower ones, you would at least be seeing some kind of success. And you'd be paying for less cards, maybe.
That's the strategy. Just start seeing the success, paying things off. Imagine if you were writing out that check for $1,500 to pay off that last credit card or whatever. It just gives you that sense of satisfaction, and maybe you treat yourself. Just
Get
one
another credit card.
The easiest thing to give up if I were trying to reduce debt would probably be some of the extra toys we buy for our daughter that she doesn't need when she's perfectly happy playing with the boxes they came in.
Mom Time TV continues.
Amazingly, there still are some credit cards out there that are, giving you lower rates these days. So get online and search for low rate credit card offers. They're out there. And so you can try to refinance or do a balance transfer and get that down to a low rate.
I think it's so funny how the world has kind of come to everything is credit. Because when I was first going out into the world, I had one credit card with like a $300 limit, and I lived with that one for years and years and years, but you couldn't go, when you went and got gas, you had to go in and pay for it, and so you'd pay cash, and of course gas was cheaper, a little cheaper then, and I had a littler car, so $20 would fill it up maybe, but now I'd have to peel off hundreds,
When is the right time to refinance the house?
Well, interest rates are at 45-year lows, so it definitely makes sense to start looking at that right now. You got to think about, too, how much equity you might have in your home right now. Because, maybe you've got, since values have come down, you don't have as much equity in the home, and it might be harder to refinance. So that's the reality. We're kind of in this very interesting time where rates are the lowest they've been in 45 years, but you can't necessarily refinance your mortgage because they've made it so hard these days to qualify. But I would at least try. I'd start talking to your existing, whoever you have it with now, and I would lock in 15-year fixed rate right now, as opposed to just having some sort of arm, because interest rates are low. At some point they're going to start going up, and if you've got one of those adjustable rate mortgages, your payment all of a sudden will start popping up too. So
That would be
yeah. So see how much, get an idea about how much your house might be worth, add up your first mortgage, maybe your a home equity or something like that. See what your loan to value would be. Maybe if you combined the first and the second together, how much does that add up versus what your house is worth? Okay, and that will help you get a clearer picture on whether it would make sense to refinance for you. But I'd lock in a fixed rate now when rates are at 45-year lows. So.
I have a question. You said earlier about when you're making the payment, like finding fluff in your budget and plugging it in, and then keeping it up on the next one before you just absorb it.
Right.
How do you recommend to keep track of like where it's all going?
Well,
what
kind of thing can
out
you
of your
use?
budget? What kind of, is there a program or something that you recommend so that like, okay, this is off of our budget. We're spending too much on this or too much on that. And
well, I have a document called a cash flow calculator that shows you, even like your hidden expenses and things like that. How much are we really spending? And then I don't know if any of you bank online, but it's a great thing. I mean, I can sit there and do any of my bills 5 minutes later, I'm done. It's awesome.
Well,
so
the day
you
I
can
was
track
going
it that
to the
way.
post office and I had my big thing of bills and I leaned over the sink to help the kids with something, I dropped them all into the water. That's when I started the online banking.
It's just so much easier to do it online, and it also helps you when you're going through trying to see what your budget is. Because you can go and you can see what your fixed set payments are, and you've had those automatically maybe coming out, like your mortgage, and if you have a car payment and things like that. There are all different types of systems, like I guess like a Quicken or something like that.
I was going to say, do those, because our old bank used to categorize, I guess, what the spending, like so much on gas, and I guess I kind of got used to that cheating, and then when we moved we had a different bank, and so now they don't, I do the online, but I guess I'm just being lazy, like I have to go up and add up what I spent on gas, and but,
Sorry.
Are there other programs that it
Is there
goes
an easy
into?
way?
Does anybody have any ideas on that? Has anybody else used something
Do you
different?
use those programs where
Quicken's
it can
the only one
plug
I
I'm a little lazy.
noticed.
Yeah.
No. But
I think
I like doing all my bills online. It takes a little while to get there because you need
set
to
it
enter all the pays and all that. But you know what? After you do it, it's like you say, it's so easy just to go and do it.
Click.
And you can set things up to go out automatically. And if you bought that furniture and you're paying for 2 years and you've got to make a payment by a certain date, it lets you set it up so that it goes out automatically. Because it's really important to keep the interest down as low as you can on anything you've got. Okay, and you can use a home equity. If you have any home equity line of credit left, you can pay off some of those higher debts. I think that makes sense because the rate's lower and it's tax deductible.
Mom Time TV will be right back.
The other day, I ran out of my money in one of my accounts, and I was using the debit card. And I went and did a purchase, and I went to check a night. I didn't have no money. I had like $25. It didn't cover the purchase. So what they did is, I have other credit cards with the same bank, and they did they took the money out of one of my credit cards. Instead of taking it out of my accounts, they went to a credit card that I already had with them, which I thought it was kind of cheesy doing that, because if I didn't go check, I didn't know. I just said, wait a minute, I just did a purchase. I know I don't have money. What happened? Did they take it out of my other accounts?
But believe me,
And then they charged you probably for taking
I know,
There's
I
some
know.
banks that charge you $35 for every charge that you make that you don't have the
Oh,
funds
but
for.
there is a charge for doing that to your credit card. They charge to the credit card.
And
Yeah, you're
that's
right.
what's really hard is the banks are trying to make a profit off of your money in there,
Yes.
And they come up with all these new great ideas to get it.
Yeah.
And the new rules, by the time you know the new rules, you've already spent an arm and a leg.
happened to you.
And they put it in the fine print, but how many of us read the fine print when we receive something?
Yeah,
in
it's
the
important to really understand
Do you read
what
all
all
that
the.
fine print?
No, I don't. No.
To learn more, visit our website at momtimetv.com.
Calling all my friends to give me a clue. I'm calling all my friends to help me through. I'm calling all my friends to laugh and lie. I'm calling all my friends to give me advice. Mom time is I need it now.